Hi, this is Adam here, and I'm just recording a quick reflective video on my application as a grade 1 physio at Eastern Health. So I'm just going to do a bit of analysis on what I think went well and what didn't on the overall process, but also some gaps and holes in my application that I would look to improve upon in future applications, which will definitely be coming up in the next year once I graduate. So a little bit of a summary of the assignment. So over the last 2 weeks, I've probably been putting together my resume, cover letter, and key selection criteria for the Eastern Health position. And just to do a bit of a quick summary on what I think went well and what didn't, I think my prior experience as an AHA and as a research assistant had really nice translation, and I thought that that was probably the strongest part of my application, was just the experience that I could draw on compared to some other graduates. However, what I probably struggled with overall was just with the overall process of writing a nice, like punchy, concise cover letter. It's been about 2 years since I've put together my last job application, so I was dusting off a little bit of few cobwebs there. To talk about just like the initial feelings about the overall process, I would say I was quite optimistic about the opportunity to do this assignment. Obviously, given that we're in a bit of a low stakes environment, being an assignment, and just a good place to practice and get feedback. So I was quite happy to partake and go with the process. I think during it, I would say that I was getting a little bit overwhelmed and bogged down, trying to string together a narrative on that cover letter. And it was getting a little bit overwhelming at times, I would say. A little bit stressful, that's to be expected. And I'd say afterwards, like looking back on it, I'm quite relieved that I've done the whole process and had a bit of a go, gave my best effort, and sort of reflected on some areas I could do better, which was nice. I think just to summarize like the good and the bad of it. So I think the strength was my response to key selection criteria. As I said, I feel like I've got a broad exposure to different healthcare settings. Obviously at the Alfred Hospitals and AHA, as a research assistant at Swinburne University, and also some private experience in community and also sporting environment. So I thought that was probably a strength of my application that I really leaned on, was that prior experience in hospitals. I think my downfall, or I suppose some of the areas that were weakest, was specifically the cover letter. I would say I probably lacked a little, like a strong hook, and to provide a nice, like strong motivation to specifically why I want to choose Eastern Health. Um, I think that I'd probably look to strengthen and do a little bit more research, so I can give it some more examples and more details that can separate me from other applicants. Um, I would also say some of the formatting in my resume too could use some improvement, but that might come up in my action plan. Yeah, so I suppose just some things that I would do differently. I would say I'd probably just divide my time a little bit better. I think knowing that I haven't done an application 2 years, potentially doing the cover letter first, and getting a draft done early as well, would allow me to get some feedback from other people. Maybe I can go to the hospital and give it to my manager or my boss and get some feedback that I can put back into my resume and my cover letter. So yeah, so dividing my time and getting some feedback as well. So I suppose for my action plan, I had another one written down here. Was probably to just engage with RMIT Career Connect, like just a really good resource on job applications and how to structure resumes, cover letters, and how to develop those skills, because they are a learnt skill, I would say. So I would say between now and then, I think I've probably learnt and how to bed down a stronger process and things I can do differently. Um, yeah, so I would say the two ones there, engage with Career Connect and sort of lean on my network as well for some feedback when I'm applying for some new positions. Thanks for listening to the video, and yeah, have a lovely day.